So here's a distribution of trials in Bacillus subtilis YDHL, a very well-studied riboswitch. And you see that the biological riboswitch, Terminator hairpin at least, performs actually kind of more poorly than this big peak of randomly shuffled trials. So it turns out that the entire discrepancy between the biological hairpin and these blue and green lines you saw, the randomly shuffled average, corresponds to just a few hairpins that don't fold very well at all. So maybe our results actually aren't that significant. So let's take a closer look. In this plot, I've actually taken a set of random hairpins and folded them multiple times and plotted the average MFE structure found at grow time 4,000 for a large set of randomly shuffled hairpins. And here I have labeled for you the real biological sequences value, which is up here near the peak. So once again, we're seeing that aside from this very long tail of poorly folding randomly shuffled hairpins, the real biological sequence isn't really folding spectacularly well. There's a lot of random hairpins that fold a lot better. So in a sense, we've rolled a die once, and we've come up with a 6. So that in itself is nothing unusual. But if I find that I roll the same die many, many times, and it always comes up 6, then that might be evidence for some sort of natural selection for these well-folding hairpins. So here, I've plotted several more unremarkable performances of real biological hairpins, which are these blue lines, versus randomly permuted distributions that are still most assuredly folding to a hairpin topology. And in each case, we see really unremarkable performance with respect to the random set of the biological hairpin. And we see the same behavior in purine and streptococcus, FMN and Bacillus subtilis, and FMN and streptococcus. So we might ask ourselves, how significant is this then? It seems that just by virtue of having a hairpin minimum free energy topology, we're actually folding really well, except for these long tails of poorly folding hairpins. So we take the 91% MFE structure found on average threshold as the worst performing biological hairpin and say, well, if you didn't fold 91% of your minimum free energy on average, then you were a poorly folding hairpin. If you folded better than 91% on average, you were a well-folding hairpin. And what was the probability of every time selecting a biological hairpin folding to better than 91% of its minimum free energy structure? And in fact, even by virtue of the small number of samples we have, the probability of this is not very large, or it's not very remarkable for most subsets of our data. But taken as a whole, with 97% confidence, or sorry, the 97% confidence level, we can say that, in fact, there was some selection in favor of well-folded biological hairpins. So now we might ask ourselves, how exactly, what is going on wrong with these hairpins that don't fold well? What is causing them to fail? So I've actually selected a particular hairpin for you and show you its most common failure mode. And this actually corresponds to this piece, where we saw the randomly permuted sequences, as well as the reverse sequence, did not fold to their intended MFE structure very often, but the real one did very often. So this is what went wrong. When you grew the hairpin forward, it would very easily find this nice long, really a textbook case of a Terminator hairpin, complete with polyuracil pause for dissociation at the end. Whereas whereas the same sequence grown in the opposite direction, from 3' to 5', tends to create first this shorter hairpin that is perhaps stable enough that it does not dissociate and reconform to the intended hairpin structure within the lifetime of the complex. So, what property of the sequence led to this? We can perhaps get a little bit of insight by looking at the nucleotide distribution in purine riboswitches and bacillus subtilis. So what we've done is plotted the nucleotide excess with respect to a uniform distribution of A, C, G, and U along the hairpin. And in fact what we see is that cytosine has this kind of nice taper where it's depleted towards the 3' end of the terminator hairpin, and there seems to be some excess of it towards the 5' end. And these promiscuous nucleotides, G and U, which, as you know, like to bind not only with C and A, respectively, but also with themselves, are placed kind of towards the end of the sequence. Because these are, in a sense, more sticky than the A and C nucleotides. They are placed towards the 3' end, where they're less likely to be a liability. So we can draw several conclusions from this. One is that it appears that there's a negative selection against hairpins with inefficient folding pathways. We don't want a hairpin that folds badly, but as long as it folds to better than 91% of its minimum free energy structure on average, we really are indifferent to which particular hairpin it is. And this is supported by the fact that these Terminator hairpins are not well-conserved elements of the riboswitch. And the other conclusion we can draw is that kinetics, as well as thermodynamics, is important for the performance of biological riboswitches. So that concludes my talk. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them.